Hello, I'm Kat and this is 10 minutes long, and in this video I decided to share the process of resealing a bath. I was kind of like in two minds as to whether to do this sort of video, but actually I was quite glad that I ended up doing it, because I initially thought, like, how hard can it be? You scrape off the old sealant and you put new sealant on, like, it's not a big deal, right? But actually it was a huge deal. It took like a week, and don't be fooled, like, this video kind of captures most of the process from start to finish. I had to delete quite a few bits of it just because there was just not enough time. That I ended up with something like 3 hours of footage or something, and that was not even the whole process, that was just like the key parts of it. Don't be fooled that I'm wearing the same clothes all the way through. Like, I couldn't use my bath while this was going on. I had washes, but just carried on wearing the same clothes because I was just like, look, when this is done, I'm just gonna have like the best bath and shower ever. So first of all, I started by taking off the old sealant, and I was doing this because the sealant was mouldy, and I had previously cleaned it with mould cleaner, but that hadn't got it out. So the mould was actually in the sealer itself, all around the taps and everything, and it just looked gross. And you know, with the sealant being old and it hadn't been sealed properly, so like every time I ran a bath and got in, it was like pulling away from the wall because it hadn't been properly sealed. So I thought, I'd already wanted to seal the window in the bedroom, which you can see in other videos, so I thought might as well do this at the same time and then just use that one bottle of sealant. So here you can see that I'm taking off the old sealant, and this was the bit that like really took the most amount of time. You can see there I'm using a variety of tools. One of them was this like black tool that was a grout removal tool, which was made of plastic, and it was made by Unibond, so I was like, oh, that's a good brand, and it was like £3 or something, so I thought that'd be right. But it was not right. Basically it was the worst tool ever. It didn't do anything. Like, I ran it along the grout and just like none of it came out. Not the grout, the sealer. None of it came out. It was just an absolute nightmare. So I ended up using these two yellow tools, which you can see me using. The wide yellow one is actually a hob scraper, and it's like one of the best tools I own. Like, I've just done so much with it. You can see my legs have gone to sleep there. I was like, oh my god, come back, legs. But the yellow hob scraper was great, and also a yellow pen knife, which was instrumental in getting the crap off, so it took ages. And the bit where you saw me sealing the bath, that was like honestly the smallest amount of time out of it. Like, it just took hours and hours, and I only recorded a tiny bit of it because otherwise I would have been drowning in footage. Once I'd removed all the old sealant, I went around some of the grout with, what I'm doing here is going around some of the grout with bleach. So some of the grout had like bleach at the bottom of it where the sealant and the grout had met, and it had just gotten mouldy and just no one had washed it. So I was just going around with a toothbrush and some mould spray just to get rid of those little bits, because I didn't want to just like seal the mould back in. That's just causing issues. So I did that. Also, on the corner of the bath you'll see some rubbing alcohol, so my plan was to wipe around the bath with rubbing alcohol afterwards, to remove any like leftover bits of silicone. But something made me Google it, because bleach reacts with a lot of stuff, so I Googled it, and it turns out that bleach and rubbing alcohol together make chloroform. So that's a thing. So I was like, okay, right, well, that's interesting. So if you're going to do this sort of process, do not mix rubbing alcohol and bleach. So even though you can see me here doing the rubbing alcohol and it looks like I've done it right after the bleach, I did rinse everything off, and I actually left it a full 24 hours to dry before I did this. It's just that I deleted those bits of the video because I couldn't get this into like 10 minutes with it in. So please, 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 if you're going to do this yourself, make sure you do not use rubbing alcohol directly after using bleach, and if you're using bleach, make sure you rinse it all off. So the rubbing alcohol, I went round all of the outside. I don't know if it did any good, but it's like obviously a really astringent cleaner, so if there was any like sticky bits left, it should hopefully have got that, because it was quite tough to actually scrape all of the sealer off in the first place. Once I'd done that, I decided to do the sealant around the taps. So I'd scraped off the seal around the taps prior to this, but I decided to reseal the taps before doing the whole bath because I thought if I haven't gotten the sealer off properly, or if there's anything that's going to stop it from adhering, then I'd rather do the taps and find that it doesn't work before doing the whole bath and then having to scrape everything off again. You can see that I'm using my finger to smooth out the sealant because the tool that had to do that was just no good, and especially no good going around the taps. So that was the first thing I did. It was kind of like, well, if it's going to fail, I'd rather it fail in a small area than a big one. So that's why that got done first, and before everything else was really truly ready. You can see that I had to take my socks off because they got wet in the bath, because I didn't even think about drying the bath beforehand. Now we've come to the bit of sealing the actual bath. Now between this section of video and the last one, I'd actually put masking tape around the bath, so you can see the white tape there around the outside. I did a video of that, but it was just not enough time to add it in. I also ran half a bath full of water before doing this, because what that does is it kind of like adds weight to the bath, so that when you're sealing it, you're kind of not sealing it at empty and then filling it and getting in it, adding weight to it and putting pressure on the seal. So if it's already like half full of water, then you've kind of, it gives for a more flexible seal. Now I'm not super clever enough to know that. I read it online before I did. It is like, obviously this is my first bath seal ever, so obviously I read it online and figured out how to do it, and that was the advice: fill it half full with water. The black tool that you can see there on the side is the rubbish sealer tool, which is also supposed to help you seal, like give a nice smooth finish to your silicone once you've laid it. But it was absolute pants. Do not buy this tool. I cannot stress it enough. It was just a total and utter waste of money, and I barely used it. It's not been useful for removing it. It's not been useful for smoothing it out. So I use my finger, and you can see there that I keep dipping it in the bath water, because a wet finger is better for smoothing it out than a dry finger. If you use a dry finger, it just gets really, really sticky and you just get all messy. Whereas a wet finger is just a slicker way of getting it around. So once I had sealed it, I took the masking tape off, which is what I'm doing here. So you can see that I actually put 2 rows of masking tape, one around the bath and one around the tiles, so that gave me just like a slim space to put it in. And on removing it, you can see that that's left me with quite a nice seal and a mould free seal, which is kind of what I was after, really. Obviously after I had sealed the taps, I waited for a good 24 hours before I decided to do the seal around the bath, and the taps obviously worked, so I just went for the main seal. I actually did this a little while ago now. I've had like tons of videos to put out, so I actually did this maybe a couple of weeks ago and can confirm the seal is still looking good. Yeah, that was, my camera just fell off the mount for some reason, as it does from time to time. And once I'd finished sealing, I decided to give it all a really good clean, because it had just been a mess for like the longest time. This was actually again 24 hours later, so I actually left the water in the bath for a good 24 hours while it dried, because I didn't want to like let the water out and then have that mess up the sealer, so I left it to dry for 24 hours with the water in. And then here you can see that I've just let the water out, and I'm hoovering and just giving everything a good clean, because it's been a mess basically for a week. So I wanted to clean the bath, get everything nice and tidy, put it back the way it was, so that I could have a shower, because at this point I was like literally desperate for it. I'd been doing this like in my lunch hours and a little bit after work as well, and I was just so desperate to get back in the shower. So that's it. As you'll see, I'm just putting everything tidy, but that is essentially how you seal a bath. So if you want to do this sort of project for yourself, my advice would be account for it to take a lot more time than you think it's going to. It's going to take a lot of time. Buy a good silicone removal tool, not a cheap one. and yeah, just be generally ready for it. It's an easy project, it is easy to do, it's just quite time intensive, but yeah, can confirm will not be doing again anytime soon. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, and do subscribe for more videos like this, and obviously other videos covering other topics, not just bath sealing, because that's not all we're about here. Anyway, thank you. See you later. Bye.